repeat that by removing the head or destroying the brain.
Today we're talking about Shaun of the Dead with Tyler. We're going to do more parts of this. We'll have Randall back on eventually. We'll probably do like part 3, 4, 5, just because this movie's endless.
There's a lot to dissect in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. We took notes, both of us. We've
Yes.
seen the movie. We've seen the movie 10,000 times, and we caught it at a time growing up where we had seen zombie movies. We were very familiar with Night, Dawn, Day, especially the remake, which we have a review of.
When did Dawn of the Dead come out, the remake?
Same year.
Same year as Shaun of the Dead?
2004.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we got familiar with both right about that same time.
That's funny I say that with very absolute confidence. I hope that's the right
It's
date.
because you really like Zack Snyder.
Yeah. For this movie, we could talk a lot about what everybody talks about, some of the filmmaking of it, some of the comedy of it. I think some of those things we'll gloss over, but to us personally, there was the referentialness of within the zombie movies
Yes.
culture itself that we were getting from it, where a normal person probably a normal person
Normal. We're kind of weird.
who hasn't seen Night, Dawn, Day, Shaun of the Dead starts with that Dawn of the Dead, like bubbling weird soundtrack in the background
Yeah.
and whatnot. And it's got a bunch of the references throughout it, but it doesn't make it unwatchable for someone who doesn't know what it is. Like, kind of spoilers, Many Saints of Newark, it kind of has that problem.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The Sopranos, you don't have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, but in Shaun of the Dead, when Ed is getting finally motivated to get off the couch, he goes, "Oh, we're coming to get you, Barbara." That works in the movie, but it works outside the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that in this, which we can talk about. There's a lot of great filmmaking techniques that have been talked to death.
You know, it's funny is you bring up all the references to other zombie films, Zed films. We're not using the Zed word. What would they call them? I mean, do they only call them zombies? Like
in this?
Yeah.
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 Because they bring up not to use the word, and then that's the only word they use.
Well,
pretty
let's
much.
jump right into spoilers.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
So it's well, everybody's seen, you know, if you're listening to this, you would have seen the movie.
I want to bring up here, we saw the movie when it was distributed on DVD in the United States.
Yeah.
So it had we probably saw it 2005. The world, like nowadays, when you ask someone who Rick Grimes is, everybody knows who Rick Grimes is.
Yes.
At that time, the zombie genre hadn't exploded again yet, because Zack Snyder's movie really helped do that.
Well, so I would say everybody knows who Rick Grimes is because it's just one big magnificent thing. Now, and I don't think it's magnificent, but you ask people who Flyboy is,
Yeah,
nobody's gonna know.
that's true. My point is, the pop culture thing has exploded even more than it seems like it probably did for like when Pulp Fiction came out.
Oh,
Like-
yeah.
Like it is, it's more culture than real culture.
I remember dressing up as zombies. So I think you and Grits were zombies for Halloween,
Yes.
and I had a gun. And we went to a lady's house, and I was like, you know, I was shooting the zombies, and she got so mad at me and just looked at me and just was like, "I don't like guns." And I was like, "I'm like friggin' 8. Can you leave me alone?"
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm a little kid.
You're like,
I had the little cowboy 6-shooter.
she's like, "I don't like guns. Your costumes are offending me. Get out of here before I call the cops who have guns." Like, what?
And there's a rifle above the bar.
I would think that's deactivated.
Surely.
So another little reference to our childhood that was in this movie,
Yes.
Time Splitters. Ed is playing Time Splitters.
2, right?
Yeah, 2. And that was the one we played, was Time Splitters 2. I barely remember any of it, but I remember the sounds of the gunfire.
Yes.
And it was just like, oh, that's Time Splitters. Like, I'd watched it again this time because we already knew that when we had watched it before.
As soon as the first time we saw it, it just popped right out to us.
But I completely forgot about it.
Yeah,
and then,
I think I did too.
he comes in and, player 2 is joining the game and you can hear it and everything. I'm like, oh my God, it's Time Splitters.
Yeah. I had a whole purpose I was bringing up the preamble for, like this whole, let's preface our review with like we're aware of a bunch of stuff, but I'm half awake as always, and I just deleted like a whole episode that we recorded, so I'm just feeling like absolute garbage right now.
You're welcome for the coffee.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to talk significantly in this review. We have notes. We'll talk about our notes, but I want to talk a little bit about how it feels to have seen the movie when we saw it and compared to now. Because when we saw it was 2004 or 5. So that year for my birthday, 2004, Halo 2 came out on my birthday. And it's like, okay, so I'm trying to figure out where we were in that headspace.
Do you remember that freaking guy that got the tattoo on his arm for the announcement?
November
and
the 9th.
Pulls it up
Yeah.
and he's like, November the 9th. And it's
Yeah.
like, what if the game sucked?
It's probably not a real tattoo.
It could.
It was probably all showmanship.
Have you seen what people get tattoos of?
Here's the good thing. The game was awesome.
Yeah, the good thing. He lucked out because what if it sucked?
I think if I remember correctly, I like it better than the third one. But the first one might be better than
The
both.
first 3 are really good though.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's like pizza or ice cream. It's gonna both. They're both good.
This is our review of Shaun of the Dead, which is a review of Time Splitters 2 and Halo series. About the video game that Ed is playing at the bar.
Finish the story, Tom.
Seeing the movie as a kid is like, and I've thought this reviewing the movie over the years already. I've been thinking about it, but this time through, since it had been so long, and I recently went through some career changes.
You talked about this in the other one too.
Yeah, the one that's audio only now.
Yeah. Thanks.
Because I deleted my video. Is the kind of get off the couch mentality of Shaun in this movie and Ed in this movie are stagnant assholes. Even Pete. And maybe we'll talk about it more. But seeing the movie as a kid, I'm relating to Ed, who's the kid on the couch playing video games. I was 14. And then seeing the movie now with Shaun and the relationship he has with Liz, where it's much like she wants to live an adult life and have real experiences, and she doesn't want to do the early 20s kiddo crap anymore. And so seeing it now, I'm relating to Shaun's relationship. I'm relating to get this guy off the couch. There's a specific shot I'm thinking of that I never really paid attention to. It's set up in those really awesome Edgar Wright push-in shots where like the transition scenes, like when he's getting ready for work. And he takes his name tag and he puts it on. It was on the corner of the sink. He puts it on. But later, when they're getting ready to steal Pete's car, because they don't have a car because they're losers.
Yes.
He takes it off and he throws it down. It's like he's moving on from that stuff.
I don't see the point of owning a car in London.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point though for London.
Yes. So what I was gonna say is there's a line in there that I'm 29 for Christ's sake. There's things I want to do in my life, and then the 17-year-old kid looks at him and says, "When?"
Yep. That's it. That's the theme of the movie.
Yes.
There's many themes of the movie, but one of them is like I just brought up Ed. Ed is Shaun has Ed regression, and then his roommate Pete as the further negative regression. So negative going back, or Ed is going backwards and not changing your life, but Pete is going forward in a negative way and being the 9-to-5 guy in a bad way. So what he's doing is he's getting rid of both of them. There's the whole line with Ed of hold you back or whatever.
So the thing I have to say about that is it's different, like relationships. So the relationship he has with Ed is too much of a positive affirmation for him.
Yes.
Ed is always agreeing with him. Shaun can do no wrong in Ed's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So Shaun can make enormous mistakes, and no matter what, Ed will still continue to support him and not call him out on his mistakes.
Yes.
Whereas Pete is way too far the other way, and anything Shaun does wrong, the front door is open again.
Yeah.
I mean, don't leave your front door open, like, come on, safety thing.
Yeah.
But but Pete to Shaun cannot do anything right. He can't
Yeah.
even manage the relationship with his best friend correctly.
Yeah.
So, which I mean, Pete's kind of right about that. But
There's a bit with and Pete realizes it, and he points it out to Shaun that even Shaun realizes it, of Shaun and Ed. It's like a malignant issue that they have where he's like stuck to him.
that was
Where-
4 years ago. When's he going home?
When's he going home? But also, we split up with Liz tonight.
Yes.
Like, be yourself,
Yeah.
Shaun. Like Ed is really cool, but take some of that childhood stuff and put it in your garage or in your shed, your man cave thing. Like that's what's happening in that scene.
They use snacks to represent it, but Sean is just getting hit in the face by life at the beginning of the movie. Like he has zero control of what's going on around him because he refuses to take ownership of things and refuses to take control of his life. But then by the end of the movie, he becomes this heroic character, this one that's stepping up to the plate and actually making decisions and trying to help the people that he cares about.
Still
And
not
now-
perfect because like he
Yes.
can't quite give him the slip exactly.
Yes.
But I know what you're about to say though. Yeah. cool.
And he now, instead of getting hit in the face by life, getting hit in the face by snacks, he's catching the snacks in this heroic action.
Yeah, which the next scene, literally, who would anyone like a peanut, is to show like he still hasn't made it. He's trying.
And a nice reference to Princess Bride.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, when they're rhyming on the boat and Andre the Giant.
Oh, yeah,
says,
'cause-
would anybody like a peanut? So
We rewatched. I mean, I didn't rewatch it. I watched that for the first time with you and your wife, and I was like, oh, okay, that's where that line is. I remember now.
you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Even though like Thomas had been telling me for years to watch that, and it's so much that when they came out with a really cool Criterion release of it, I bought that for him because I knew he liked it a lot, and I didn't even watch it then. Okay, I know what you're talking about though. There's a good example. Everybody in the world knows that this movie is set up, payoff, the movie, like perfect. This is the way you do that. Everything in the first 25 minutes is set up for what happens at the end, like throughout the rest of the movie, especially the one shot walk to the shop. Obviously, everyone knows what that is. That shift when the zombies show up, it's like a turning point for Shaun as well, where he's going to start trying because Liz literally puts him out in the rain, and he gets told everything that at the bar, Ed's little speech, and then at home Pete yells at him and basically tells him the truth. So he sits down, writes. What does he write again? It's three things.
Go around moms, get Liz back, sort your life out, or
Which is
something like that.
exactly what happens in the movie.
And it's also exactly what Pete told him. So like,
Yep.
Pete being too abrasive, yes, he is too abrasive.
Yeah.
But you do need friends in your life that will tell you, sort your fucking life out, mate.
Yeah. In writing, I go writing like writing's not real or it's not important.
This fictional thing.
In the storytelling, there is the character truth and the character lie. And that's what's happening there. That's what Ed and Pete are. So you have the character truth. He needs to sort his life out, but it's coming at him harsh. And characters always have issues with the character truth. They always realize it at some point and then turn their back on it and then have to go for it. They will have sacrificed stuff. Like Ed is the sacrifice. And the lie is Ed. Ed is, you can still be a 21-year-old asshole or 17-year-old asshole. And
17.
Yeah, 17.
How long has he been gone? Half an hour? Or 30 minutes? 17.
Yeah, perfect setup payoff. The moment of zombies coming back to life is the switch for him. He looks forward and he sees those three things on the board, and then he has to, fix his life and his friends and lovers' life while changing his life in the movie. And he tries to make that change from that morning onward. A good example is in the water when he gets to the shop. He grabs the Coke. He's obviously unaware of everything that's happening still, because that's the metaphor for him.
Zero situational awareness, yeah.
Yeah. He gets to the shop. He opens the thing and grabs a Coke. And I never realized he looks at the back of the Coke. He's actually reading what's in it for once and like, oh, okay, maybe that's not what I want. He puts it back and grabs Coke Zero or whatever.
Yeah,
Diet Coke. So it's like, oh, okay, he's officially started to try and make a change.
I never noticed. I
Yeah.
never put those pieces together.
Yeah, but immediately following it, just like the peanut moment later, slip in the blood right after it. It's showing you he's trying, but he sucks. Like he's still an idiot.
So on that same theme,
Yeah.
everybody in this movie really sucks at survival. So
Yeah.
let me whoa. David is the worst human being ever. So in that, he has no redeemable qualities. Zero.
Yeah.
He is not faithful to Diana, at least in emotional ways.
We know that if Liz had like said anything, he would immediately be
Yes.
okay, bye, Diana.
He questions very good direction. It just overly criticizes everybody. His idea for a blunt instrument is an umbrella.
Is that what he grabbed?
It was an umbrella. I realized that this watch, and I was like, holy smokes, you grabbed an umbrella? Everybody else has things that kind of make sense. Like,
Yeah.
Diana even has like this, she grabs like a log or something. She has like a giant stick. So it's like, okay. And I think Liz, what did Liz have? She had something that made sense.
I can't remember.
But yeah, I saw David holding an umbrella.
I want to say about David, he had one or two moments where he kind of was talking some sense. I mean, throwing the cannon window was dumb, but they really did need to get off the street. Secondarily, he early on was like, why do we want to go to the Winchester? Like, it's probably more further into town or city than they are. And it's, you know, it maybe doesn't ring as a good place to go, which is kind of flawed.
It has deadbolts. You've been to a lock-in.
Yeah, exactly. Several.
So all these people are terrible at survival.
Yes.
And Shaun just happens to be one step barely above them.
Video games.
They're all at the bottom of the staircase, but Shaun just has on that first step.
Yeah.
Because this entire movie takes place like when the zombies show up, from the moment the first zombie is seen. So when he goes to the store and you start seeing zombies. Or I guess maybe the guy at the night before, but I don't think any of them knew about that.
Or was the hobo actually a zombie, or is it just a hobo who eats a pigeon?
I don't know. But the first time that zombies are noticed, really, like you have to engage with them in any way. I mean, there's the zombie.
Yeah. The trailer moment, I think, probably.
Yeah, I think that was in the trailer. So that's probably about 6 hours, maybe 8.
Yeah.
From the moment that they're down in the cellar, and all these people died. That was abysmal.
How many Londoners were zombies already?
And these are the worst zombies. Like, they're so slow. When they're in the backyard with the two, it takes them forever to walk any distance. Like, they threw all the shit at them, said, screw this, I'm going to the shed, and then dive in the shed. These two imbeciles find weapons. How long do you think it took Shaun and Ed to find suitable weapons?
Well, we have to, have some disbelief because it's comedy. They are the protagonists.
Yeah, well, and all the zombies stand by while they're having their little argument.
Yeah, so there's clearly the universe, has to wait on them or whatever.
Telling you, John's connected. Big Al says so. Well, Big Al also says dogs can't look up.
We had seen this movie, 2014 or 2004.
Yes,
and really liked
old.
it. Yeah, we're old. And it just kind of sat with us, and it was like this is when we think of movie, this is what we think of. 2008, 2009, I think 2008, we are in high school, and there's this teacher who gets hired on, and he's probably our age now, or was he probably only 25? I don't know.
He was probably mid to late 20s.
Okay. And pretty cool dude, actually. We were a little hesitant probably at first, but he was a pretty cool dude. And he introduces us at some point. Well, he was such a cool teacher. The 5th season of Lost was happening at the time. One of the crazier science fiction, everyone's talking about it seasons. The episode premieres, and then everyone's talking about it the next day. And he was one of the people who would talk about it with us at lunch, except he'd watch it the day after because he stays up that day doing homework or whatever, and then he watches at TiVo, I guess, the next day. But he's a teacher we're talking about Lost theories with or whatever. And then one day he introduced us to the English Office and Spaced.
Oh, he's who we got those from?
Yeah, well,
we got the idea of watching them from?
Yeah.
Huh.
So he's the one who introduced us to that. And Spaced is the precursor to Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End.
Yes.
It's Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and their friend, I wrote down her name, Jessica Haynes. Jessica Haynes, who is one of the main characters in Spaced. She helped co-write Spaced, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
We ended up buying like the whole DVD set and watching it. Really good. They had like a whole.
I didn't watch the whole DVD.
You didn't watch it? Okay. They had a whole episode on Resident Evil 2. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Sean's in it. A couple of the zombies from Shaun of the Dead are in it. It's like them and their friends made this show. It was really cool. British humor show. And then you have The Office he introduced us to, which has Dawn, who plays what's her name in this movie?
Oh.
Diana.
Yeah.
So she was in The Office. You have the people from Spaced. So it's like these people were doing whatever they were doing, and then they all came together to do Shaun of the Dead. And like it's just I don't know, it was just a weird connection. And then you have the Jessica Haynes from Spaced showing up in Shaun of the Dead at like the middle of the beginning of the movie, and which is the setup for her showing up in the middle. Exactly.
Yeah, you're talking about Yvonne.
Yeah, and then showing up at the end, and it's like that. It's playing on the theme of the movie of growing up, where she met them at a rave. I think he meets her because they used to hang out.
And she grew up and became an adult.
Yes, but like she's like, oh, I haven't seen you guys in so long. Oh, and you're still with Liz, right? Okay, and then so reminiscing on being a kid. And then in the middle of the movie, oh, we're all about to die. We're all trying to grow up. And then at the end of the movie, see her again. And they've made it. And like this whole movie is a metaphor for leaving your friends and moving on with your life, becoming
Also,
an adult.
She bought a place, and the amount of surprise bought.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can do that, Sean. Like,
Yeah.
grow the fuck up.
Yeah. And the end of the movie is the metaphor. She's away from her friends too. For all we know, they all died or whatever. But
why does she have a golf club at the end of the movie? Like, I get it. She had the golf club earlier, but like, why does she have the golf club still?
Griddles has a theory on that, and that is it's a little tinfoil, but it's like the movie was made in England. Nobody in England is legally allowed to have a gun, whereas in the United States, a lot of people just carry a gun. Not like everywhere, but there's a surprisingly big number of people who just like are trained with guns and have them, and it's no big deal. But in England, they've had laws against that for a while for whatever reason. And so you have a main character towards the end, right after the army shows up with guns and saves the day. Some civilian can't show up with a gun and be helping out. Like, no, give her a blunt weapon. Like maybe there was a push to have that happen, or they didn't even, or they didn't even think about it. Okay, it's either a coincidence, didn't think about it. She didn't need a gun, or we don't want a civilian to have a gun in the movie because that's just weird and it's pushing like a gun message that they didn't want to push or something.
Gotcha.
I don't know. But that's what's really interesting about this movie, especially for us growing up, is it's so unlike other zombie movies because it's in England and like nobody has a gun, and it takes 4 Englanders to run a gun.
Yeah, it's 8 bullets for one zombie. I think it was 8. It was either 8 or 7,
and it's a cowboy gun.
So I watched it with my nephew.
Yes. So we, in our podcast, which I deleted the video for just right before recording this one, which will eventually get deleted too.
Thanks.
You introduced the idea of showing your nephew movies that he had never seen before. Like you showed him The Thing, and he'd never seen rated R movies, really, right? And you're showing him The Thing.
Whoops.
And what was the other one? It Comes at Night.
It Comes at Night, Whiplash, and now Shaun of the Dead.
Okay, see, ended a little good, like it looked more like an R-rated ice cream, like a Cornetto or something at the end here.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But I mean, you also see David get torn to pieces.
It's better to have him see this and see it in a comedy than just see Rhodes getting ripped apart.
Yes,
except for Rhodes getting ripped apart is kind of like a good payoff to his whole thing. Same with David, I guess.
Well, what about Rickles?
Well, yeah, that's different. Rickles just gets his like eyeball ripped open, but like,
isn't he the one that the voice box or the vocal cords get torn?
No, is that Rhodes? Torres taking the machete. When they rip David apart, the zombies are actually eating the stuff. Because in every other zombie movie, they hardly do it. And in Day of the Dead, that was actually rotten guts that they had. So they didn't go actually near their mouth.
Somebody unplugged the fridge, didn't they?
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's the famous fable, which isn't a fable. It's real, apparently. So in this movie, I really enjoyed the fact that you see zombies chowing down on that stuff. I don't know. That's
good. I didn't even notice that. Sean is an absolute child.
Yeah.
He has all these grand ideas, so unrealistic that what are you even talking about, dude? When
Yeah.
he comes up with all the ideas for,
The fried gold scene.
yes, he, in all his imagination, everybody's so happy.
Genius.
Everybody's got the biggest smiles on their face, and there are two people that don't exist that he friggin' hates. Dave and Di don't show up in his things, which I don't think he hates Diana. She's just a failed actress. Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
Which he didn't say. Yeah.
yeah. The thing about the problems in this movie, because I'm like, oh, she had a golf club. Like, you have to take away so many things. Your grip on reality has to go away. Sean impaled a tree with a tetherball
Yeah.
post. Like, come on.
Yeah. And just like anytime the zombies are acting comedic, which I'm glad they didn't have the zombies do like any clown stuff. Like the
Yes.
most they did was they just stopped and waited for them to finish yelling, which might actually confuse a zombie. Like we don't really have perfect lore on zombies. There is no absolute law. Not that that would matter, but
So let's say like you're out hunting or something,
Yeah.
and you just see these two deers, just deer. It's already pluralized. Chinese is Viet Cong. That was it. You wouldn't say Chineses. You see these two deer just like making weird screaming sounds at each other. You're gonna stop and be like,
yeah,
"What's going on here?" Another point of the movie is like, people are zombies. You're stuck in your mundane life of just the same repeat task.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. I wake up, I eat my breakfast, drink my little coffee, I go to work,
like Mary.
yeah, and then I come home, I turn on the television. So another point at the end of the movie, they've taken this horrible thing and like, oh, it's entertainment now, it's wacky, and it's like everything's for entertainment and to keep people in their same mundane routine. And the whole thing that they have zombies pushing carts at the end of the movie, it's like, well, because people are already zombies.
Everyone's guilty of it, and even when you realize you're guilty of something like this, you're still guilty of it.
Yeah, and
somewhere else.
I'm probably still guilty of it significantly at the point I
everyone
am.
is.
People need to stop being zombies and just
Yeah.
like do what you want to do. You're 29 for Christ's sake.
Yeah, you're-
Like Sean wanted to become a hero. He wanted to.
Yeah.
He could never do it. You look at the beginning of the movie when he realizes like, oh shit, I told her I'd make a reservation. I'm a piece of crap. I'm not going to make that reservation.
Yeah.
But he always wanted to be that guy.
Yeah, that's the message of the movie is get off the couch. It is.
It's literally get off the couch
Yeah.
because it's Sean and Ed.
Yeah, but and then at the end, I was gonna bring up the zombie part because that's the whole point of like him and his job. He was a zombie. That kid, the 17-year-old kid, zombie. Like, and even at the end, he hasn't become a zombie. He's still the same zombie. The message of the movie is when are you gonna do that thing?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, the change in lifestyle that I did recently, or whatever you would call that, is yeah. When are you gonna do something? Like do something that don't do something that you don't want to do at first. And the end of this movie shows them on the couch still, Liz and Sean, like have a sit down. And, there's time to have a sit down and there's time to go on the shed and play with Ed. There's still a time for that in your life, but don't make that your life. And then don't become Pete or whatever. Don't become the zombie this way or that way.
Yes.
It's brilliant. And probably I noticed that like when I had rewatched it after becoming an adult, but this time through I really noticed it.
Pete is just as old as Sean and Ed. Where is Pete's happiness too? He's doing a job. I have to go to fucking work in 4 fucking hours.
Yep.
He hates his job.
Yeah.
He hates his roommates. He hates his life.
Yeah.
Change it. Do what you want to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that you're doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
You don't want to work for these people or whatever, in whatever situation you were put in a bad situation, and you decided to change it.
Yeah.
You decided to start doing these podcasts. I'm doing what I want to do, helping people, starting a family, because I decided I was Mary.
Yeah. You were Mary. Yeah. I was Pete. And like getting mad. Like I had that same situation where like just getting mad at like, wait, this is all I'm doing this to myself.
I don't get angry anymore. Like I do. Yeah. Everybody gets angry, but like I used to actually get mad about the stupidest things.
Well,
and
that's part of Shaun of the Dead is he doesn't realize like he throws the cigarettes away. What was the next one? He doesn't realize what's wrong with him. When he says, "What do you mean do something?" He doesn't realize the problem, and that's what we're talking about. Is at least realize what you can change and start making steps to do it. Otherwise, you're gonna be a zombie.
Yeah,
whatever. Like it reminds me of They Live a little bit, where it's like wake up.
Yeah, put on the sunglasses.
Yeah.
You know, don't have somebody make you put the sunglasses
on,
but you should choose to put them on.
That 10-minute fight is a metaphor for like getting someone to realize there's something going on in the world that they're not aware of, or to change your mindset about something or be open-minded.
It's something that people should do a lot. And I don't know, I'm not a therapist, and maybe being a therapist is not the way to go. Maybe you need to have a relatable opinion with people, but like you get angry, just take a step back. Like, what's making you angry? Why is it making you angry? Is that worth being angry? How can you change it to where this thing won't happen anymore? Or how can you better yourself to where this won't anger you? There's a million options, and you can always circle it back to what can I do differently? Because the world's going to continue to be the way the world is. For the most part. You can make differences to it, yes. But
you could be the change.
At what point do you look at yourself and say, I need to fix myself or change my approach to this thing and do my part, I guess you could say, of making myself happy.
Yeah, because you won't realize you're letting down your Liz, or you have an Ed holding you back. You need to literally fix your thing. A metaphor for what you're kind of just saying there is at some point I had been thinking like when you get mad at something, or when you're stuck in doing stuff you don't like or love, and you're realizing that there's these problems. Something that I was doing was think, okay, it's 10 years from now, and if you're 10 years older, think back, is all this worth whatever's happening right now? Is it worth being this angry about this thing? Is it worth living this way, or being treated this way, or treating people this way? Just like an outside mindset really helps. Let's what's her name? What's his friend that he runs into?
Yvonne.
Okay, Yvonne. When he runs into her in the movie, it's all of a sudden this very outside perspective of someone who cares for him being like, oh, I'm buying a house. He's like, oh, and then later, oh, you're going to the Winchester? Like, oh wait, that is a dumb idea, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's let's go back to the movie here. Yeah. This is a review of Shaun of the Dead, not a review of but I mean, it's kind of the same thing, because it's showing you to better your life, and you can make those decisions.
Yeah. Which it's funny, like Shaun of the Dead is the first in the Cornetto trilogy, but it's also like it's the same thing kind of that is in the third movie.
Yeah, that third movie, man. I'm so glad I didn't see any trailers.
Yeah, you don't watch trailers, right?
I really try to avoid it. Sometimes I'll sneak in a trailer.
Me too.
If I can't, like, okay, I suggested to you to play God of War, the God of War 4, the one that came out in like 2018.
Yeah. Which is good so far. It's got Jeremy Davies.
So I've been waiting for Ragnarok to come out, the next one, and I had to watch the trailer. I was just like, oh my god.
I was the same way with The Last of Us 2, but I didn't watch the trailer. I think I had seen 30 seconds of that. It came out on like a National Pride Day or something, the trailer that shows Ellie at that party where they're dancing. I saw a few seconds of that, and then I was like, done. They sold me.
Yeah, they didn't need to sell you. You were already sold from the first game. Yeah. Like, regardless, that was going to be day one. I'm playing this game.
Best game ever, by the way. Sorry, go ahead. It was a good movie. Next,
Yvonne. His idea is so bad. Like, okay, you run into somebody you trust during the zombie apocalypse. They're armed and they're whatever. You're probably going to be like, you have 6 people. I have 6 people. Let's make it 12.
We'll join houses.
Right?
Yeah.
His idea was so bad that she didn't even invite them to come with her.
Good luck.
Like, you guys are going to drag us down. Bye.
No. It's Shaun is her Ed.
Oh, you're right. Oh, my
Like she bought a house. She's trying to get away from all that.
You know what's funny is I didn't even, up until you saying they went to all these raves together, and I didn't even realize that. I thought that she was like a family friend who was just responsible, like this responsible person that's always been responsible, and is like, oh, there's Shaun, who's this.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with raves.
No, there's nothing. I mean, whatever. Do what you want to do. Like I said, if it's your thing that's going to make you happy, and that you're not going to go step on other people's lives in making yourself happy, you can do it. You know?
Absolutely. That was a big thing in England. It was, I think, late 80s, early 90s, especially, was the big rave scene. There was a lot of psychedelics involved too. But at this point for them, even early 2000s.
Yeah, don't go too crazy.
Well, do whatever you want. But early 2000s.
Well, I'm just saying, like, for personal safety stuff, like, you don't know, there's some stuff out there that might fry your brain.
Yeah, don't do like really, like, don't do manufactured drugs or anything, but do whatever you want.
So what were you saying?
I was saying do all the mushrooms you want. In Spaced, they are, there's a lot of raves and stuff. Like they go to him, and I don't know if you remember that, but even Ed, Nick Frost, his character is like a military man in Spaced, and like he has this landmine that he gives to Simon Pegg's character in that as a birthday present. He's, here you go. He's like, oh, it's inactive, I think, or whatever. There's a moment where it almost goes off.
Is that like they brought that back for the mine on Hot Fuzz?
Oh, you're yeah. I think
Just a bunch of old junk.
you're right. I think it's a reference to that. Wow. The commentary for Hot Fuzz. Did you know Tarantino does the commentary?
No.
Check it out,
man.
Anyways, the early 2000s in England was big on raves, so it's in Spaced, and it's part of their lore in Shaun of the Dead too. I don't actually remember how I remember or found out she was in raves, but I think they say it there, like they imply she was part of that or something. Can't remember. I hope I'm not just making that up because I remember that from Spaced, but I'm pretty sure it was a thing.
You could be completely making it up.
Oh well, we know that. I think we know that Shaun and Ed were because they're really into electro, and that was just how they.
By the way, like, who keeps track of the second album they ever bought? Like, I get it, the first album. Like, oh man, this is the first album I've ever purchased.
Keep talking.
Oh no.
This is the first album I ever bought.
Oh, so you're proving my point right now.
Oh, I don't remember the second album?
Yeah, what's the second album you ever bought?
Give me a second here.
Is it this prized possession of yours that it's like, it's the second album I ever bought? That's not the second album you ever bought. Stop lying.
This is the second album I ever bought. Right there. That's the second album I ever bought.
I get somebody keeping track. Yeah, of course. The first album they ever bought. Like, you have the first album you ever bought, Pale Horses. Pale Horse? Pale Horses.
Pale Horses.
Okay. But yeah, who the heck keeps track of the second album? Where they bought?
Yeah, that's a good point. And who has the Batman soundtrack? Well, not Shaun anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good moment too. Of I never noticed it before. The shed is locked. Is that a Night of the Living Dead reference? That
it is.
The shed's locked. What do we do? I just break into the shed.
Yeah, get some bolt cutters.
That's what Randall brought up during our review. Just bolt cutters or whatever.
You're on a farm. Like you have options.
You're on a farm. Walk to the next farm and grab his bolt cutters if there aren't any where you are or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Well, and like where Shaun of the Dead went a little comical over the top of like, oh, Shaun's running through the crowd of them and giving them the slip and all this stuff, and he has to stop and tie his shoe or like take a break for the zombies to start catching back up. You know, the little comic book insert thing in the special features. Yeah, so there's a comic book. I don't know, because people might not know about that piece.
It was a good comic book. Good art.
But Shaun kept having to stop to like, okay, I'm running from the zombies. Okay, now I got to wait for 5 or 10 minutes for them to kind of catch up to me so that I don't lose track of me. Now I'm going to run a little bit more. Okay, I'll stop and wait. I completely forgot my point. What did I say?
Well, I want to say something about those little special feature inserts that they have. Diana going out the door is a reference to Barbara being pulled out the door in the original Night. She even kind of looks like her, just a touch.
What?
A touch, like she's 2 eyes and a mouth.
Okay.
So in those special feature things, they tell you that she survived. Like she has a story about how she beat them up, then climbed a tree and survived the night.
Yeah, what's funny is she says that she snacked on David's leg during it, but it's like, didn't the military show up like an hour later?
Yeah,
You got that
She maybe
hungry
went
and
further down a different block they didn't go to.
okay, you got that hungry that quick? You snacked on your dead boyfriend's leg?
Right, that's all. Shake out, nice and limber.
My point, I think that those were made or written well after the script and production, because at the very end when Ed and Liz have their house, which is his house, I wonder if they bought it, by the way. Behind them on the stand, they have a picture of Mum, Philip, and Diana, like portraits of them, like they remember their dead family and friend. So maybe that was written later and recorded as a special feature, as like a, man, we kind of wish we would have done something different, or like she shows up at the end, or they get a call from her. So they just did that as a thing. I don't know.
Love how David's not in there though. It's just,
Yeah, he's
screw that guy.
gone. He was Griddles pointed this out. He was wearing the most practical clothes. That leather jacket he had,
Yeah.
almost could have just done a Shaun through the crowd if he really wanted to go out that door, but he had taken it off at that point.
So I mean, then again, we gotta think Sean's an idiot.
They're all idiots.
So if like you, for example, or me, we're not the most spry, stout young individuals.
Yeah.
But if I was wearing a leather jacket and those are the zombies I'm dealing with. So this goes back to my point is do what Barbara suggested. Like, oh, the bar is getting overrun. Just walk right past him. Like Shaun literally just did that.
Yeah, he did.
He jumped down into a crowd of zombies.
And Diana does it.
Yeah, and he wasn't wearing a jacket, nothing. He's perfectly fine. Like, he just proved to you guys that these zombies are zero threat.
You might be able to domino the whole crowd. You might.
Yeah.
There was a moment that the humor for me was almost too low quality for this movie, but they brushed it over it so lightly that it still worked. Is the doppelganger scene that we mentioned, where they run into the other set of group or friends, where they're like each the opposite version or the exact copy. It's almost like too Scooby-Doo for the movie, but it's so quick and so little that it works.
You had brought up something at the very beginning, like, what does this movie mean to you now? So when I first watched this movie, 2004, I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like 11 or 12. So I had no understanding between like the human connection between people. Yeah, life is about connection. I had no idea what human connection was when I was 11 or 12 years old. Like we were so isolated.
And sit this close to the TV.
Yeah. It's probably why I had to get LASIK.
Probably, or is why.
At the beginning of the movie, there's the whole "I'm sorry, Shaun" thing. And, it's like, it's a funny joke between two friends. Oh, I'm leaving,
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, it's just, man, I don't get like that emotional during movies or anything, but that scene for me, like this is such a dumb movie in a way.
Yeah, brilliant dumb movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can really see the connection between these two friends.
Yeah.
And then, I'll stop doing it when you stop laughing. He puts his forehead on Ed's forehead, and he says, "I'm not laughing." Sticks a cigarette in his mouth. Oh my God!
Got you this time a little more.
That moment is just
They really
heart-wrenching.
They built towards it really good. They got me this time a little bit in the Philip and Shaun moment in the car.
Yes,
Really strong there.
yes,
Just how they both played that,
yes.
and how it was directed, how everything really did get quiet at that moment, and it's so good.
So there's, you watch movies sometimes and you think like, wow, these movies really miss the mark, or these movies really hit it. This movie hits the comedy, it hits the crazy, like, oh look, there's zombies, like I get my zombie fix. It hits the emotional aspect. This is a great movie. It's directed very great. They do a really good job on like the rule of thirds for a lot of it too. Yeah. And the push-ins, not push-ins, well, there are push-ins that work really well, but the focus shift. Yeah. For example, Shaun's on the phone talking about he had just tried to get the table at the last second because he's a
Idiot.
he's just useless at this point in the
And
movie.
then Ed with his regression.
Yes, and then he's on the phone with Liz, and it's this dire moment for him, and then it changes the focus back to Ed doing the Winchester, and just the focus shifts.
This movie, if you've seen the features, they have their big paper note thing where it's like those giant 3x4 paper sheets where you pull them over the top or whatever.
Yeah, like people always have for the presentation.
Yes. And so they wrote the movie, but also plotted out scene for scene beats on those big sheets. And in the special features, it's months before. Like Simon Pegg is a little heavier. He hasn't like worked out for the movie yet to get like screen ready.
Which is funny because it's like Sean's supposed to be this like little scoundrel that like you can't do anything right, but it's like
and then,
Simon Pegg just like
and you're like, that's him in shape. Until he moved to LA. So they have so meticulously written the movie. And Edgar Wright is very specific about when the script is done, it's done. And then I'm going to translate that exactly to camera. At some point I saw an interview with him where he says, someone asked him about ad lib and he says, yeah, ad lib's fine for reading the script out like a table reads. Yeah, sure. Something like that, or early on. Then he puts whatever he can into the script if there was maybe anything that was like that, because he needs to know exactly the frame that a scene ends, because he is transitioning. Almost every scene starts with movement out of the last scene. So he knows every single bit that is getting pieced together. So there is no room for making something up on the spot, maybe a delivery or something, or something, but everything is so well planned out that there's no room for that.
The comedic timing is so good, but a lot of comedy nowadays is just people talking. Like it's this person talking, then it's this person talking.
Yeah.
And it's like Edgar Wright does it right, where he makes you, to get back to my point, he makes you invested in the characters. The comedy hits very well. There's some directors that can damn near do it all.
Yes.
And then there's some movies, Captain Marvel,
Captain Wow.
where they miss just about everything, and they try to tell you about things and not show you the humor, not show you the character's personality, not do any of the right stuff. Like the cuts are weird, going from one environment to another environment. It seems completely unnatural. The structure of the character's development is unnatural. But in a movie like this, sorry, I'm just griping on Captain Marvel.
I haven't seen it yet, so eventually I might like it or gripe about it. So
you're not gonna like it. I can tell you right now, you're not gonna like that movie. I mean, it's a superhero movie. Kind of fun sometimes. Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's fun, but as far as character development and directing, you're gonna be like, this is terrible. So that was our review of Captain Marvel. What do you guys think? Edgar Wright knows what he's doing really well. And I'm so glad that that we didn't see Hot Fuzz first, or, I mean, though it would have been great, it would have been fine, or The World's End first. But this movie was the perfect introduction to us because we loved zombies and we're these 11, 14-year-old kids, 12, whatever, I don't know. And oh man, there's this funny zombie movie, and because there's funny stuff in Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, things like that.
Yeah.
But my God.
Like in Day of the Dead, which is either Romero's best or his second best movie, there are comedy moments, there are moments that are meant to be funny, but there's equally moments that are not meant to be funny that are funny, because you like it as a really good movie, but you like some of the overacting or something.
Are you saying Day and Dawn are the two best?
Day of the Dead and Night Riders.
Night Riders. I don't think I've ever seen Night Riders.
You haven't, but you really need to. We should watch it or something. It's fantastic. I just watched it. We talked about it in our last review for a second, like 5 seconds.
Cool. Don't tell me anything about it.
What was I just saying? There's another reference to Night of the Living Dead remake, which I maybe never realized, and it might not even be a reference. It's just like a corsage that the guy who's got an arm off.
Oh,
And it looks like the zombie that
that's
gets,
good.
I don't know if it's meant to be, because wouldn't they made it pink and would have made it stand out more like that, or
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, let's just chalk it up to Edgar Wright genius.
Yeah, okay, that's
So,
just another.
so something that caught my eye this time when I was
Yes.
watching it was, so Shaun saves Barbara. From the second that Barbara walks to the fence, she is pulling out her napkins to stuff it in her thing.
Yeah.
But if you watch her the whole time up until when Liz takes her away and she starts convulsing, periodically she keeps checking it.
Yeah,
She keeps
yeah.
going back to it
Yeah.
and touching it and like stuffing more napkins in there, things like that.
And she's entirely different after that moment too.
Yes.
Which is good. I like that a lot.
Sorry, dear, I was miles away.
She's a really good actor. Rewatching In the Kitchen.
Actress.
No, actor. What's that line from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? He's talking to the little girl actor, and she's like, actress is nonsensical or something, and it's like, it's kind of true. Like, what are you, a cop or a cop-ess?
Yeah, right? So I guess.
You're a butcher and a butchess.
Yeah.
The mother as an actor in the kitchen when Shaun is saying, he touched me. Her acting in that whole scene, brilliant. Like her accent and just how serious she can get. In fact, I wanted to talk about, you said this movie does comedy, horror, funny, all that perfect. This movie gets really serious around the time that he starts pointing that gun at Shaun's mother. It's still really funny. They keep bringing up their little, we're not using Z words and exacerbate things, but like just a really good tone. And the actor who plays
You sold me. Well, I guess the girl on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sold me.
yeah, Tarantino sold you.
Yes.
The actor who plays Diana does some really good admitting, yeah, I have a lie that I've been living with, and David is my lie of, yeah, I know you only wanted to get close to Liz. I've come to terms with that, David. And everyone is facing their truth moment in that end of the movie. It's so good where David is, okay, stop pretending to be this fake guy. You are a scumbag and a weirdo.
A scumbag weirdo who makes Shaun shoot his own mother.
Yes.
Like, you are such a piece of garbage that you tried to murder your one guy that's really trying to save you guys.
Yeah.
And then you make him, or I guess you did that after. You made him shoot his own mom, and then you try to murder him.
It's better. Like, who's better to do it though? It had to be him. That's him.
Yeah.
It's him growing up because he's kind of a mama's boy.
Yeah.
So he has to do that as like a character thing.
And-
in fact, he's wearing his business tie as his Rambo thing. It's genius. It's all metaphor, this movie. Yeah.
So good.
Oh, the arrow or
Yeah.
the dart.
Oh yeah, and more on David here is like, his actor, by the way. So I don't think actors that play villains get enough credit. Like, okay, Joffrey, for example, on Game of Thrones. Spoiler: Joffrey on Game of Thrones does such a good job of making you hate him. You despise this person. If you saw the actor, you in real life, you might just be like, "You son of a gun."
Yeah.
But David also does a really good job of making you really not like this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think of you haven't seen it. We'll watch it eventually. The Wrath of Khan. The main villain is played by Ricardo Montalban, where he's such a compelling villain that is like, I just want to watch him as the whole movie. Just have him just sit there and talk. It's brilliant. How interesting would David be if he was the guy who wanted to be with Liz, but he wasn't, like, he was just bland and nothing, like,
Yeah.
ugh. And there would be no conflict.
Like his entire character, the entire movie, he does his actor and Edgar Wright do a really good job of you just chipping away at his personality.
Yeah.
Because Shaun, they're building the entire time is, they chip away at his personality, and it's like, oh man, he's kind of a loser.
Well, with Shaun, they're chipping away his bad traits to show you his good and to try and build him up. But with David, it's chip away any of the fake front of good or gentlemanly and show you that he's a scumbag.
Yeah, he goes from being a chartered accountant to Charleston.
Yeah. For my cold dead hands. Which would have been interesting if they had him hold on to the gun until he died. Then it would have been, they would have taken it from his cold dead hands or whatever. Like that's how they tried to pull him in or something. I don't know.
Yeah. When he's getting attacked by Bloody Mary, which is funny because Ed foreshadows everything that happens in the movie.
Is she the same colors as the pink Cornetto ice cream that he gets?
Bloody Mary rang back to see if I wanted to eat her out tonight. What?
He keeps saying like, "Oh no, I'm flattered, but I've just come out of a serious relationship."
The funniest moment in the movie. I just come out of serious.
While she's on top of him, up until he notices her eyes and stuff, he still like is like, "Oh no, I'm flattered." Like,
I wrote that it's so well written. It's every scene in this, every moment they're all perfect, unforgettable set pieces. Like every single scene is so well set up that it's like, oh, this should be taught in film school for the next 100 years or whatever. If
Yes.
if film schools are still around, if we're allowed to have film schools anymore. I can't ever, when you see a movie, it's unforgettable. But like this movie's unforgettable of just like a guy walking down to the store is unforgettable.
yeah, like I saw this movie, yesterday, day before, something like that. Before I had watched it yesterday, the day before, I could have walked you through almost every single scene in the movie because it's just that good.
Yeah. And we've seen it a lot, but not like a lot.
I've seen it probably 12 times.
Yeah. Which to some people, is going to be like, oh my God.
Yes. But
yeah,
worth 12 watches.
Yeah.
I mean, not back to back. Don't watch it 12 times in a year because you're going to be like, wow, I'm really over Shaun of the Dead. Watch it 12 times throughout your entire life.
Martin Scorsese had a good advice one time is watch a movie with no sound. And he's right about that. You can feel the flow of a thing when you're just watching it without sound. But also at that,
well, hang on. Edgar Wright's like his sound in his movies puts it all together.
But what he's saying, which works with Edgar Wright as well, is your editing and flow is perfect. Edgar Wright's visuals are music by themselves of just whipping and cutting and pushing and panning.
Yeah.
And when I used to work at that hellhole that I talked about, when I was a zombie, still a zombie, but a little less, was I would listen to some movies that I was a huge fan of. What?
I just think of that really terrible movie, Warm Bodies.
Is it really that bad?
Oh, it's the worst thing. You should watch it just for the sake.
No, I've seen it, but I don't remember it being that bad. Well, here's my problem. Do you know Hillywood? Do you remember Hillywood ever?
Yes.
Where they do parodies. They did a really good parody of that movie.
So yeah, the zombies become human because people touch their heart.
It's whatever.
I was gonna say you're starting to become the what does she call him, like D or Z?
Run. I don't know.
Yeah. R. She calls him R.
Because Ra. Is that it? Okay, so can I say
what a stupid movie.
I want to bring us down a rabbit hole real quick because I already forgot the point that I was trying to make.
Go ahead.
And this is going nowhere.
Oh, this thing stopped recording.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Look at the face. It's vacant, with a hint of sadness. Drunk, he's lost a bet.
So that was Shaun of the Dead. I mean, I would rate this high film.
Yeah, high film. No,
maybe low end of cinema.
No, it's. I would. You're right. Probably.
It's like it's breaking the line between the two.
Yeah, if we're gonna have to rate it, it would be in there somewhere.
Yeah,
it's hard to rate a movie we've seen a long time ago, but we did that with Night. Yeah, high film, low cinema. Perfect, brilliant movie. Check it out. Go watch it.
Totally worth it.
Get lost.
You are a scumbag and a weirdo